From Real Housewives to your friends and neighbors, we're obsessed with wealthy people behaving badly. Peering into the lives of the rich and spoiled has always been popular. And these days, the worse they act, the more we love them. We are a nation of voyeurs, and our fixation with other people's lives, both fictional and not, is often directed upward, to folks dripping with wealth, privilege, and Botox. The best part? Those with the most often act with the least. That is, the least self-awareness, decorum, and general connection to reality. From unscripted reality shows like the Real Housewives franchise and the Kardashians to irresistible dramas like the current Apple TV Plus hit Your Friends and Neighbors, starring Jon Hamm as an unemployed hedge fund manager who steals from his wealthy friends, and the HBO sensation The White Lotus, which focuses on the most cluelessly wealthy people ever. We are totally obsessed with rich people behaving badly. That's not new. When there was a recession in the early 80s, shows like Dallas and Dynasty proved hugely popular. Broadcast historian Finola Doyle has told Metro. They were luxe and opulent. They were a form of escapism. There were fewer of those shows in the 90s and noughties, and more of a focus on gritty realism. The economy was performing better, so there wasn't such a chasm. Enter Swamp People, Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, and Duck Dynasty, three reality shows The Hollywood Reporter called part of cable TV's major blue-collar boom back in 2013. So what's happening now? Clinical psychologist Sarah Bishop tells Glamour, in times of economic uncertainty, such as a cost of living crisis, people often seek escapism through media. Watching the privileged can trigger social comparison processes. People may feel better about their own lives when they observe the flaws and failures of the wealthy, as this reinforces the notion that happiness and success are not solely determined by wealth. Meaning a lot of us in ordinary towns with ordinary jobs and ordinary hair that just sort of hangs down instead of swishing sumptuously may never own a mansion in the Hamptons or sashay into a gorgeous beach resort in Sicily, but at least we're not so miserable. When the people on badly behaved rich people shows scream, cry, brawl, or throw a tantrum because they didn't get the biggest room on vacation, it's a welcome reminder that money can buy all the handbags, but not all the happiness. Watching housewives flaunt their money and make terrible choices gives us the thrill of feeling morally superior, even for just a minute, to people who technically have it all. When they mess up, it's a delicious kind of justice. Way tastier than caviar, at least we imagine. Whether it's passive-aggressive dinner parties or a meltdown in a mansion, we're hooked on all the compelling chaos and sometimes cruelty behind those perfect blow-dries and infinity kitchen islands. And yet, despite these people's lives often being way more of a disaster zone than our own, we still want to be a little more like them too. As Zoe Williams of The Guardian says of White Lotus, Season 3 compared with its first, it feels a lot more like early 21st century wealth porn. We're disillusioned with wealth but still seduced by the fantasy. The stats don't lie. Style videos tagged Rich Mom Energy have had over 100 million views and counting on TikTok, and many clothing retailers optimize their products on Google for Rich Mom fashion search terms. And that makes perfect sense. Maybe still, deep down, we believe that if we could only access all that these obsessively watchable and chronically extra people have, we'd be better off. There's a certain delicious chaos that unravels when wealthy people misbehave. Whether it's on reality TV, in the slickly choreographed chaos of a dark comedy, or behind the tinted windows of your neighbor's $5 million McMansion, there's something deeply captivating, bordering on addictive, about watching the rich lose their grip. From the screaming matches of the Real Housewives franchise to the morally bankrupt dinner parties in Your Friends and Neighbors, our culture is utterly consumed by the glittering spectacle of affluence gone off the rails. Why exactly are we so fascinated with the rich behaving badly? Maybe it's because it gives us permission to peer behind the velvet curtain, to confirm what we've long suspected. Money doesn't buy class, and certainly not happiness. Maybe it's a strange form of catharsis, watching the upper crust combust under the weight of their own hubris. Or maybe, just maybe, it's because their disasters make our own look so much smaller in comparison. Take The Real Housewives, for example, a multi-city, ever-expanding universe of opulence, Botox, and endless brunches turned battlefields. These women are not just wealthy. They're wealthy enough to turn their lives into open-air theaters. Their homes are sprawling, their handbags cost more than your rent, and yet, miraculously, inevitably, they argue like drunk cousins at a wedding. The fights aren't just over serious things. They're often about how someone said something rather than what was said. A raised eyebrow during a champagne toast can snowball into a 3-episode arc, and we eat it up. The allure isn't limited to the unscripted. Films like Your Friends and Neighbors dive into similar territory with a scalpel instead of a selfie stick. Neil Labute's dark dissection of sexual cruelty among affluent urbanites is an autopsy of moral decay. The characters are well-off, well-dressed, and absolutely hollow. There are no Bravo-style confessionals here, just layers of passive aggression, manipulation, and cold-hearted betrayal. It's painful to watch, but impossible to look away. These characters aren't admirable, but they're fascinating in the way a house fire is fascinating. Dangerous, mesmerizing, and somehow just out of reach. We root for their downfalls and revel in their chaos, not necessarily because we hate them, but because their drama exists in a consequence-free sandbox. The rich, especially in media, operate on a different plane, one where they can yell, cheat, ghost, throw drinks, even commit crimes, and still book a facial and brunch the next morning. They are playing a game with different rules, and in some ways, we admire their ability to play it badly and still win. There's also a tinge of schadenfreude in our obsession. Watching a gilded life unravel makes our cracked tiles and Target wardrobes feel a bit more glamorous by contrast. We're reminded that wealth doesn't exempt anyone from dysfunction. It just wraps it in better lighting. When Lisa Rinna throws a glass or Logan Roy verbally eviscerates his children, it's thrilling not just because it's outrageous, but because it's proof that no amount of money can iron out a wrinkled soul. Pop culture has always been in bed with excess. From Dynasty and Dallas to Gossip Girl and Succession, the idea of the rich cannibalizing themselves has been a recurring theme. The spectacle is practically Shakespearean, just with better closets and worse behavior. We see echoes of Lear in Logan Roy, of Lady Macbeth in Lisa Vanderpump. These people are the tragic heroes of late-stage capitalism, undone not by fate, but by their own insatiable appetites. But while we watch for the drama, there's also an undercurrent of fantasy. These shows and stories are aspirational, even as they horrify us. We're both voyeurs and dreamers, repulsed and enchanted. There's an emotional whiplash involved in watching a woman have a meltdown because her friend wore white to her birthday party, but also thinking, God, I wish I had a birthday party like that. The bad behavior is repellent, but the lifestyle, that's still seductive. It's a paradox. We love to hate them, and we hate how much we love them. And it's not just on screen. Look around your own neighborhood. Maybe there's a perfectly landscaped lawn hiding infidelity, a Porsche that was paid for with blood money, or a dinner party where someone's about to cry in the guest bathroom. The appeal of the wealthy misbehaving is that it feels like a mirror, albeit a funhouse one. It reflects our insecurities, our ambitions, our quiet desires to live loudly. And it tells us, in its own twisted way, that perfection is a myth, even when you're rich.